David Anthony. Thanks for checking out MotoAmerica on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and comment.
A shot in the arm for a rider who retired just a few months ago, back on track. And he comes to the checkered flag and takes his second victory in a row. So 2 for 2 for Petrucci. Gagne pushes it too hard, and there he goes. He's down in turn number 5. Tapping his head, he knows he made a mistake. He tucks the front, through the gravel trap he goes, handing it over to the championship leader, Danilo Petrucci.
You know, we're already halfway through the year. Again, you're going to keep asking me, but I'm not thinking about points. We're just going to try to keep winning races. And
you know, the numbers don't change anything. You know, I mean, I know it's tight. I know it's going to be tight all the way to the end. So
the reigning champ is back to his championship winning ways. Can Gagne extend his lead, or will Petrucci regain the top spot? It's time to find out right now on FS2. You're locked into the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. The round Superbikes at Minnesota are 7th for 2022. And we are setting the stage for Medallia Superbike here from Brainerd International Raceway. Race number 1, and looks like it's going to be a hot one. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the broadcast booth and welcome to Brainerd, Minnesota. I'm Greg White, standing alongside two-time world champ Jason Pridmore. Now, Jason, it is very interesting in Medallia Superbike because there's only 3 points separating Jake Gagne from Danilo Petrucci.
Yeah, there's a little bit more to it than that because we saw Gagne dig himself a big hole at the beginning of the year. Obviously, the results at COTA and the first race in Atlanta weren't exactly what he was looking for. Then he got beat straight up at Road America, but since then he's gone on one of these runs again, hasn't he?
He certainly has, and so he just lost that lead, but here's a look at those points, 215 to 212. All the while, Cameron Peterson and Matthew Skoltz are in a battle of their own for third in this championship. But Jay, this right now is the closest gap we have seen in MotoAmerica history with 8 races left in the championship. And you can see that in 2021, at this point of the season, Gagne led Skoltz by 79 points. Beaubier in 2020 led Gagne by 84, and we're looking at 3. And it's this rider right here, Danilo Petrucci, that's looking to regain that championship points lead here at Brainerd International Raceway. And Jason, we've seen Jake Gagne. He is awfully fast. He rolled the thing off the truck. He's been ripping around Brainerd.
Yeah, he's fast everywhere, as we know. But the thing is that Petrucci was able to get up here and get some testing, so he was able to get to see the track. So that's going to help him a little bit. And he's been chipping away. I've been watching him pretty closely. He had an incident this morning, an accident that we haven't seen Danilo do. But he'll be ready to go for this race, Greg. And I think he's going to do everything he can to just get on the back of Gagne, try to go with him at those first 3 laps.
And he's with the third member of our broadcast team, Hannah Lopa. Hey, Hannah.
Guys, it's a beautiful day for some racing out here. I've got the Ducati to my right here. It looks ready to go after this morning's crash. The question is, Danilo, are you feeling up for the challenge of not letting Jake Gagne get away from you on the track or in the standings?
Yeah, this morning I put myself in a bad situation because I crashed really hard and a big guy side, and don't feel really good because I think I broke my little finger and cannot really bend my knee. But yeah, we will try. It will be tough as always, more tough than ever. But yeah, we are here. We are ready to fight.
Well, best of luck out there. Definitely some added challenge for Danilo Petrucci with his knee bothering him. He had some ice on it earlier when we were talking. Now, it's not a new track for Cameron Peterson, but it is a new motorcycle here for you. Having a bit of a breakout season, Cameron Peterson is. You've been on the last 4 podiums. How has your team given you the tools necessary for such personal growth as a rider?
Yeah, I mean, all year, you know, they've given me the best bike and a bike that's capable of winning. But yeah, after every single session, you know, we go over data and we see what I need to work on. And I feel like I'm slowly starting to put the pieces of the puzzle together. Still got some work to do, you know. It seems like every weekend that gap to Jake's kind of the same. So yeah, my goal for the rest of the season is just to keep progressing, keep closing that gap and having fun. But looking forward to the race. Should be a good one. Enjoying himself on the racetrack. Ever the optimist is Cameron Peterson.
He's been flying, Jason. He has. He really has.
Yeah, and he's been trying to get that time down a little bit closer to Gagne, as you know. Let's look at this track map, Greg. Brainerd, we've been coming here for a lot of years, but turn 1 and 2 are a little bit different because they don't go into them as quickly. Turn 2 is obviously still very fast, hard braking into 3. We saw some drama there last year, as we did in turn 4. some good pricing opportunities as you head down towards turn 7 and into 8. That's the spot that's all new to these riders from a year ago. All the way to turn 12, which is another good opportunity to pass. And then you're going to see that line there back to the start-finish line and then back through turn 1 again.
Well, we get a more intimate look at Brainerd International Raceway with Roger Hayden on the Ducati Fast Lap.
I'm on my 2022 Ducati V4S on the new layout here at Brainerd International Raceway. You go through the left-hand turn 7 into the new turn 8, a long right-hand carousel that's a little bumpy in the middle that leads into a quick, tight right-left chicane. The riders will come out of there, grab a gear heading into a left-hand turn 10, to a right-hand turn 11, out of there a short chute into turn 12. A tricky, really hard braking into there. We've seen a lot of riders make some mistakes into that corner this weekend. Out of there, a right-hander onto the front straightaway.
Number 1 plate, Jake Gagne looking to add another win to his resume. We'll see if he can get it done. We're 4 minutes from a race start.
All right, folks, you can see everybody starting to clear the grid. That means we are getting ever closer to the start of the Medallia Superbike race, first of 2 on the weekend here. And as always, everybody's going to be chasing Jake Gagne, but this is kind of a big story in and of its own. You can see as we watch Matt Scholz putting that glove on, particularly on that left hand. That left hand is the one that he hurt in a pretty substantial off. Watch in the background.
Yeah, you can just barely see it at the end there coming through turn 10 and 11. Working on that left hand there, pretty sore. Already pretty banged up from a crash that he had yesterday morning going into turn 8. And here's Richie Escalante. Same session, beginning of qualifying, steps out into 12, gets too far out, and he couldn't save it.
And the issue for him is you can see how the bike ended up sort of twisting on top of his legs, and doesn't look like he is going to be able to make the start. Matt Scholz, he is. We saw him getting the gloves on, but Richie Escalante apparently not able to make the start. Understandable when you consider what happened in that incident. And there's a look at Matt. And I'll tell you what, the man is a warrior. He has the, when he has an off, it's very rare. He lays down for a while after the off, but when he gets up, he's usually back that next session.
Yeah, and actually both his crashes this weekend have been pretty big crashes, and he has spent a lot of time and medical having to get cleared, MotoAmerica making sure everything's okay. So it's glad to see him out there. You know, he's still trying to fight for that championship. If the 2 guys in front of him make a mistake, he's there to capitalize.
Yeah, he is a gladiator, and you can see that empty grid spot in the 5th spot for Richie Escalante. Really a shame, too, because this was a track he had a really good run on here last year, and this season, you talked about it, that at Laguna, it was pretty clear that he'd made one heck of a breakthrough and was really on form. Came in here, has been fast from the off, qualifies right there in the top 5, and then has that incident in that second qualifying that precludes him from being able to make the start.
Yeah, and that's the most disappointing thing, is he was really starting to make a lot of progress. He was 5th yesterday, and it looks like him and the team were starting to figure out the Superbike, and now he's going to have a little bit of a setback, but that's part of the racing.
It's part of the game, indeed, and as a rookie, that's sometimes going to happen to you, but he will be back, he will be fast, and looking forward to that happening. But we've got one heck of a potential Medallia Superbike race coming up here at BIR.
Medallia Superbike coverage is sponsored by Medallia, the pioneer in customer and employee experience. By Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series. And by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car or motorcycle insurance.
Bikes on track on their warm-up lap at Brainerd International Raceway, Medallia Superbike race number 1. Here's the grid. Jake Gagne back on pole, Jake.
Yep. Then we got Cam Peterson and Petrucci with Skoltz, who's riding a little bit injured with a wrist injury from this morning's crash. Escalante is a scratch. He did hurt his ankle, I think, Greg. Hayden Gillum, though, man. Hayden Gillum doing a great job for Disrupt Racing there, putting that bike up on the first 2 rows. Jacobson, Barbara, and David Anthony round out row 3 with Yates, Flinders, and Jake Lewis. A little further back, we're going to go to Brandon Posh, Travis Wyman, and Corey Alexander. Then we have Andrew Lee, Ezra Bobier, and Danilo Lewis. Justin Meest, Jeremy Coffey, and Hunter Dunham. Jeff May, Jake Schmatter. It's been going pretty quick this week. I've been watching him a little bit. And Andy DeBrino on a new bike, on a Honda. Then we have Nolan Lampkin, Matthew Orange, Dustin Dominguez, and Ryan Burke rounding out the field.
Really good to see Jake Lewis back in action after surgery from just 4 weeks ago. And the number 85 starts from row number 4.
Still a little bit dinged up, I think, Greg. I don't think Jake would.
No question.
He's playing it off pretty well, but I think he's still not quite where he needs to be physically. But good to see him back on the bike.
So 18 laps scheduled for Medallia Superbike race number 1. And Danilo Petrucci just kind of making sure he knows where that start light is. This is one of those places, Jay, where you see actually riders looking kind of over their left shoulder almost to take a look at where the start light is. So we are green and ready to go. And a very fast and fun turn 1 waiting this Medallia Superbike field. When those lights go off on the left part of your screen, we're going. Revs up, clutches out, and a good launch from your pole sitter, Jake Gagne. Right behind him is his teammate Cameron Peterson. And look at Matthew Skoltz, who is part of the walking wounded with a left wrist injury. He got a good launch too, but here comes Petrucci up the inside of Peterson.
Wow, what a move. That's what he wanted to do. We've seen Cam really good on the opening laps the last few rounds. Petrucci wants to take a shot and go after Gagne on the opening laps. You heard him say, Greg, it's hard for him to bend his knee as he gets it a little bit deep into turn 3, probably thinking he had to defend that line. But Petrucci holds on to second. Peterson, Skoltz, and it looks like Hayden Gillum with a great start for the 69 of Hayden Gillum.
In order to race Jake, somebody went straight off the back there, but in order to race Jake Gagne, somebody's got to get in front of him. It's the Tytler's Cycle Racing. So that looks like Hector Barber, number 80. So he ran off the track. Unfortunate for him and the team, as Barbara was your 8th qualifier.
Looks like PJ Jacobson is in 5th, actually, Greg. I missed him, but PJ 5th. I said Hayden Gillum, but Hayden's back in 6th. But this is the spot that we're going to talk about as the race goes. And we talked about it a lot last year, too. It's a third split, Greg. Gagne does a few things there a little bit different than some others. We'll talk about that as we go. But there's that little gap that continues to open up on these beginning laps. Petrucci and Cam doing everything they can to stay close. Petrucci gets in there so deep, Greg. Look at that thing just getting all out of shape.
One of his strong suits in motorcycle road racing, Petrucci, he's known as just an incredible braker, but it's about getting the bike stopped and then getting it turned and back on the gas. So a 32.7 from a dead stop. And look at the gap he's already got, JP.
It's almost a full second. And, you know, Greg, it's a shorter track than some of the other ones. And you're going to see Hector Barber on the left-hand side of your screen is going to go off the track. Probably got in there. It's also a spot, Greg, where they do a downshift. It's easy to do if you catch a false neutral or something like that. Getting into that corner, not sure if that was the problem, but it can happen. Petrucci gets that bike back in, as you say, Greg, hard braking into there. We're going to look at this first split when it comes up. Cam Peterson gets up out of the seat ever so slightly. Matthew Skoltz, pretty motivated right now considering he's got a wrist injury, Greg, that was pretty swollen this morning after an incident in turn 11 here.
So Matthew Skoltz on the Westby Racing machine in 4th spot. Been a standout early on in the season. Been stalled out a little bit the last couple races, but Cam Peterson on that Fresh and Lean Progressive Yamaha. Looks like he's struggling with some grip early on.
Look at Cam. Cam's struggling as well.
That's what I was saying. Cam is struggling, yep.
Got that thing kind of backed into 8 there. But you're right, real early here. Like back, it's not good, Greg, when you're off throttle, tipping the bike in and the bike's moving around that much.
No, definitely not. Especially when you have the best grip you're going to get all race with those fresh tires.
Oh, again out of that turn. You can see he even had a shake of his head there, Greg, as he came out of there. So let's keep an eye on the 45. Maybe he's got a problem. We'll have to keep an eye on that and see. But man, it's pretty consistent. Look, it's still happening, isn't it?
Yeah. He's got his hand up there. And so, you know, Skoltz is in an interesting position because Skoltz can't get too close to Cam Peterson in case something goes wrong. You definitely don't want to get him. But there's a good move by Skoltz. He's going to sweep around the outside. Is he going to get that position? Cameron Peterson knows he's got something going on the edge of the tire.
Lack of confidence, isn't it? I mean, that's why Matthew closed up on him so much through 1 and gained all that momentum going into turn 2. So we'll see. You know, the 45, I talked to Cam this morning as well, and in first session yesterday, man, I was down in a particular part of the track, and he was getting bucked up out of the seat a lot as well. So we'll see if he can kind of, Matthew gets in there a little bit wide. You can see Cam's going to have another look at him, gets through. So Matthew, again, he's walking wounded, as you said at the start of this race. Be interesting to see if he's able to hold this position.
Yeah, he was one of a couple riders that ended up hitting the deck in qualifying earlier today. Petrucci was one of them. You heard him talk about it at the top of the show. Richie Escalante is another one who didn't start the race, and Matthew Skoltz. So Cameron Peterson, I don't know if he's working his way into the field, this motorcycle, if something's going on, but this is the battle for third. All the while, Gagne's got a 1.5 second lead over Petrucci on the Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati New York Panigale V4R. There's a look at the Italian and the gap between the leader and third place.
So Cam's bike looked a little bit better this time. So all through the sections that he was having troubles in, it did look a little bit better. Hannah, what you got?
When I talked to Cam a little bit earlier, he said, you know, this tire on this track just takes a little bit longer to come in. He feels really strong on a used tire toward the end of the race, so perhaps that's what's going on. Otherwise, the bike feels good. They made progress from the first session, made more changes than they typically have been in order to accommodate the track surface here. He said he got a good 13, 14 laps on the same set of tires yesterday, so he knows it'll feel great to go the race distance. Otherwise, same as always, he just wants to get closer to Jake, keep his teammate to not getting away so far ahead of him.
And Hannah, that's a great report, because it was something I was going to add a little bit earlier, is that sometimes it does take a tire a little bit longer for some riders to get bedded in a little bit stronger than others. And you can see right now, Greg, he's gone 17.2, which is the fastest first split of the race, which is quicker than his teammate and all that. So Cam is gently getting that bike and tire up to the temperature he needs and getting going again, as you get a look at Gagne. Now, Greg, I talked about this section. He backshifts his bike into first before this corner and rips it around this turn all the way around the inside into the end part of that corner in first gear at a lot of RPM, a high RPM. Now he's going to do quick little shifts, a shift to second and a short shift to third before here. Going out and watching, a lot of the guys in that long right are backshifting to first at the very end. Gagne keeps hitting first all the way around, and it was something he was doing yesterday, and I did talk to Cam Peterson as he continues to close on Petrucci. Cam Peterson is going to be doing his fastest lap of the race on this lap. But I talked to Cam, and he says, Jay, I'm starting to do the same thing now. I'm coming through turn 8, first gear, all the way around. So if he gets and when he gets up to the back of Petrucci, we'll see the difference between what the Yamaha does and what the Ducati does.
Last time by, Cameron Peterson just goes 30.8.
Yeah,
that's 0.2 of a second slower, and only less than 0.3 of a second slower than Jake Gagne's gone. So Cameron Peterson's really started to figure out what the heck is going on with his Yamaha R1.
And it looks like, are they on the same tires, the two teammates? They look like they're on the same, same front, same rear. So again, this is a thing where Cam, it could be getting the load into the tire correctly, maybe focusing a little bit more tomorrow on the warm-up lap of really trying to get that thing bedded in a lot stronger, because he gave quite a bit away, didn't he, Greg, on those first 2 laps? I mean, he was getting shot up out of the seat quite a bit, but look, now he's getting a little bit more confidence, and what Hannah said is the tire gets a little older, it gets a little bit better for him, and so now you're starting to see him really close this gap to Petrucci. He's gone fastest second split of the race again, as he goes through this big long turn 8. The Ducati does a downshift. Actually, yep, there it is. That's the downshift that Petrucci does. And see how much Cam closes up on him in that last little quarter? That downshift at full lean angle without being able to really brake down to that last spot, it does slow that process down for Petrucci, and Cam is right on the back of him. I expect Cam to do something with him probably between turns 1 and 2. This is the last corner of the track. Then they'll get tucked in. They'll go across that start-finish line stripe. And then as they get out of this turn 1, you will get a draft effect out of here. Let's see if Cam is able to do anything with the Ducati as they go down towards turn 2.
That Panigale V4 is awfully fast.
Yep.
And Petrucci's he's really good right there. Like, just going into this corner,
yeah, he is.
He's got so much roll speed compared to Cam Peterson at the moment. And it's hard getting on the brakes now as Petrucci closes off the apex, not leaving an opportunity for Cameron Peterson to pass him.
And to your point earlier, Greg, 30.8 for Gagne that time by 30.9 for Cam Peterson. So his pace is that of Gagne's right now, but Gagne's done what he does so well. 3.8 seconds out in front. And Cam now will realize, all right, I've caught Petrucci. Didn't get my very best first 2 laps through really no fault of his own, it didn't look like. So that'll be something he'll take back to Richard and the crew there at the attack team.
Now, Jason, earlier you mentioned the fact that Cameron Peterson, who we're looking at on the 45, and his teammate Jake Gagne, the #1 out front, they have the same tire selection. Dunlop actually brings 5 different fronts to this race and 3 different rears. They're different compounds, and we denote them as super soft, extra soft, medium, and so on and so forth. So when Jason talks about the same tires, what he means is they have the same exact compound tire choice, both front and rear, where Petrucci has a little bit different compound combination for the Ducati. Something we expect with the different configurations of the motorcycle. You have a V4 versus the inline 4-cylinder, the Ducati versus the Yamaha.
Yeah, absolutely. And now he held back a little bit through turn 1. And, you know, like I said, Greg, it's pretty weird because here at Brainerd, it's probably one of the few tracks that you can actually feel a draft of a bike in front of you through the corner. See this run up he's getting in, coming through here? He's got a little bit of a drive. He's not going to be close enough again, it doesn't look like, to get by Danilo Petrucci as they go down into turn 3. But Cam's just kind of biding his time. Both these guys now mid-31s, 4.3 seconds up the road as Gagne still running in those high 30s. And he was doing that yesterday. He did some long runs yesterday, Greg, that was quicker than Petrucci's best lap. He probably ran about 7 or 8 laps.
You're talking about Gagne.
Yeah, Gagne up underneath Petrucci's best lap yesterday in second. So he's got the pace to just be able to click off these 30s.
Incredible pace from our race leader. We're watching the battle for 2nd and 3rd as #9, Danilo Petrucci. MotoGP last year, MotoAmerica here. 3 points away from Jake Gagne, who took over the points lead. And he's trying to minimize any of the damage done in the points championship battle. This is our first of 8 rounds remaining in this championship season. The first race of 2 here from Brainerd International Raceway in the Medallia Superbike class. You just got a whiff of Gagne as he went by.
Yep, and you're going to have a look. This is coming on to that start line straight there. The 2 bikes getting out of that last corner, putting the power to the ground. That's going to be 2nd. Some riders are short shifting all the way to 5th for turn 1. Most of the guys are up to 4th through this section of the racetrack. But like you say, Greg, the Ducati's got a lot of grunt out of here, doesn't it? It doesn't look like Cam can quite get close enough to Petrucci there. And as hard as it is to pass Petrucci on the brakes, Cam's going to have to be a lot closer to do something with him as they get down here into turn 3. As you can see, Hector Barbera has pulled that Tyler's bike into the pit lane.
And Petrucci protecting that inside line, trying to get on the gas on the right side. A little bit of movement from the rear end of the motorcycle, but he's forcing Cameron Peterson to take the long way around. And it looks to me like Cam Peterson is trying to rehearse where can he make the pass. He knows that if he gets Petrucci late in the lap and gets him by start-finish line, that Petrucci's going to be able to attack him in the turn 1-2 area where he's super fast.
Well, that's yet to be seen because, you know, we got to try to figure out if you know, when Cam's behind him, he could be trying to get a run up on him between turns 1 and 2, because earlier it looked like Cam had a little bit of pace through 1, but the Ducati is pretty quick accelerating out of there. There's that downshift I'm talking about that the Ducati does that allows Cam to creep right up on the back when both these guys will short shift all the way up to 3rd now through here. He's been pretty close out of this right-hander to try to maybe squeeze down the inside of Petrucci into this left-hander that they're coming up to, but it gets so tight down there. We've seen a number of mistakes in that spot. Still 11 laps to go here.
Medallia Superbike race 1, and Petrucci is holding off Cameron Peterson right now, Hannah.
He is, Greg, and while he's doing that, he's definitely got some challenges underfoot. Quite literally, his right knee is still pretty banged up from the crash this morning. He had some ice on it when I was over there talking to him. But he told me he was fighting chatter still. We've seen it in past rounds, and it has not been resolved for this race as well. He said it makes it really hard to trust the bike and know exactly where the limit is. He was hoping to stay a lot closer to Jake Gagne. Obviously, you know, it's kind of hard to close that gap with half the race left to go, but I think that he'll be pretty content with this result if he can manage to keep Cameron Peterson behind him despite these struggles.
Yeah, this Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati New York Panigale V4R is factory equipment directly from Italy. And of course, this motorcycle developed around the World Superbike Series, which runs a different tire as a, you know, it's a softer kind of a construction tire. And so the way the Ducati is designed, it doesn't have the flexibility that some of these, like the Yamaha R1 with its perimeter frame, aluminum frame. So a lot of what happens is we find that with the Dunlops in the US that the Ducati tends to chatter. And just like you're talking, you know, like Hannah said, Jay, describe what chatter can be.
Man, it is the worst feeling, because when you're tipping in, especially under braking, if you start to feel that front of the bike just start to move around underneath you, and it could be a slow chatter or it could be a fast chatter, and it really prevents you from getting to that lean angle that you want to get to, because you have to continue to pull the lever on to load the tire. But as sometimes, Greg, it can be even when you're releasing the lever, if you have a little bit too much speed and the tire's not in contact with the ground the way you want that feel to have. And it just depends from rider to rider. Some riders can ride around chatter. Some guys just hate it. So it really can be what each individual really feels. Now, this is the closest we've seen Cam through turn 2. Will he take a shot? Now, Petrucci waits awful late and then turns in early. You can see Cam's going to be turning in a little bit later. So he has seen this rehearsal now from Petrucci. What Petrucci does is get from the outside of the track, almost beeline it down towards the inside of the track, in maybe the easiest passing place to do it. It's going to be very difficult for Cam to do it there.
But that's what Cameron Peterson knows. I mean, if that's the line that Petrucci wants to take, if he's going to pass him, he's got to have the full bike length. It's not one of those side-by-side turns, because the risk gets really high. If you don't quite get there and Petrucci can't see you, he might turn right in on top of you without even knowing you're there.
It's a pretty committed pass, and you can see Petrucci, look at the gap right now. And by the time they get out of this big, long right-hander, Cam will be right up the back of him. You know, right about in this area here, right there is where that downshift. See the Ducati, how out of shape it gets? It's all because of that downshift isn't great. That's 2/10. You know, again, it's 2/3 of a second a lap right there, and that they lose.
So Jake Gagne's leading the way by 5.4 seconds over this battle for second. Petrucci, the number 9, holding off Cameron Peterson. And behind them, you have Matthew Skultz, who is just soldiering on in 4th place. Hayden Gilliam in 5th. P.J. Jacobson 6th. Ashton Yates, Corey Alexander, David Anthony. And here comes that pass up the inside. Not quite going to get it done, with Jake Lewis rounding out your top 10.
He gave it a shot, didn't he? I mean, you got a good drive out of there. I can see Petrucci's bike is moving around a little bit more when he goes from neutral throttle to picking that gas up. You can see that bike starting to squirm around up underneath him a little bit. There's Gagne out in front, 6 seconds now. And 31.1. These guys are still in the 31s, Greg, but they're just, you know, they're half a second or more off of that. Gagne now is doing some pit board watching, I'm sure, to see what he can do. Cam will continue to ramp this up with 8 to go. Petrucci will see +0 on his board for the remainder of the race until Cam decides to try to take a shot. I just don't know where that's going to happen. I haven't seen a spot. And I'll ask you, have you seen a spot yet where Cam could take another possible shot?
He hasn't shown it to us, because there's been this kind of a gap that just kind of keeps accordioning back and forth.
Correct.
And the fast stuff, it's awfully risky as well. The problem with Petrucci is that he's able to do a lot of his lap time because he's really good on the brakes where you would want to attack and pass.
Right.
And so Cam Peterson's got to have the confidence in the front end of the motorcycle to do it. And now Petrucci gets a good drive out of there. So I don't know, Jay. It's really, and I'm sure that Cameron Peterson's thinking the same thing we are. If I have the ability to pass him, where am I going to get this done? You can see Petrucci, the way he handles his line, he comes across, then he goes right to the apex. So that's a risky move if he was trying to make a pass there.
Yep. Yeah, and you saw him get a little bit close out of here last time, but that might have just been something where Petrucci got a little bit of wheel spin and Cam didn't. And again, he's very close here, and he'll close in. Watch how early Petrucci clicks into turn 2. He's going to get in there earlier than Cam. You see he gets it down to the apex early. Gets a load on that front. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to load that front end the best he can and then get right back in the power of that Ducati. Try to get a little bit of a gap before they break down here into turn 3.
Cam's close there. He started to get a run, but Petrucci, when he really gets to 100% throttle, that Ducati just kind of leaps off the corner. So the question is he going to have that kind of drive with 1 or 2 laps to go? And it kind of seems for Cameron Peterson, I would almost think at this point, I'm going to just hang out here. Well, and just keep analyzing and see what happens to the rear end of the Ducati.
But there's 2 distinct places where these bikes, they're so different, because one is so good in one area and one is so good in another. And you know, it's hard to distinguish where they're going to be able to do anything. And here's Gagne out front, Greg, and 31.3 the last time by. The leaders, the second and third were 31.4, 31.5. So he's just backed his times down to the time that he's going to be able to do with the guys in second and third now.
So Jason, obviously this is the class of the field, a 1:30.5, the fastest lap of the race on lap 2. Let's take a look analyze what you're seeing from Jake Gagne right now, because to me, he looks extremely comfortable on the motorcycle.
There's a lot of simplicity here with him, and when you watch him and you go out there and you see exactly what he's doing, is he gets the bike upright off the edge of the tire so early, and you can see here Petrucci's opened up a tiny little bit of a gap on Cam Peterson now. So not exactly sure. 31 flat that last time. That's the fastest lap of the race for Petrucci in second place.
So the gap remains the same. I almost feel, Jason, if Cameron Peterson was in front of Petrucci, that we'd kind of be seeing the exact same thing.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, because there would be places where Petrucci would say, oh, he's pulling away from me here or there, and then there's going to be places where he's going to be able to bring it back. So let's see if Peterson can respond to this. It's very curious to see, you know, Danilo go, what is he, Greg? He's half a second. His fastest lap to Gagne's is half a second. But he does that with 7 to go or 6 to go. So Petrucci's got his head back down and opening up that gap rather big now. And he goes a quickest second split for himself, and he's got a lot bigger gap on Cam Peterson. Here's a little look. You asked me earlier, Greg, what I see. I see this guy getting it up off the edge of the tire so quickly. He's very patient mid-corner, and then you're going to see him stand the thing upright. See that little, and again, you know, you hate to be a broken record, but it goes back to sort of what Cambobier does. When he comes out of this left, the angle that we have on this next right, you're going to see, as soon as he goes to the throttle, he's going to get it picked up. And see how he stays off the inside of the bike? He's just loading a harder and easier part of the tire to get the power to the ground a little bit earlier. So he rolls through the middle of the corner, gets the bike stood up, and gets out of there as quickly as he can. And all through this section, Greg, he does a back shift into fourth, so he goes up to fifth, back shifts into fourth here. Now he's going to run fourth, and you can see the TC kicks on. That's why you see that bike start to spin a little bit. Then the TC kind of kicks on, straightens the bike up. When he comes out of here, watch this pickup move that he'll have from about right now. See that? He gets the bike stood up, and I stood out in that corner yesterday and we're able to watch him do this, and that is what he has brought to his riding that he didn't have maybe at the beginning of the year. You're going to see it from the inside of the bike here again. He'll get that bike stood up, he'll stay out to the inside just a little bit, put that power to the ground, and that's why you just see this guy, and it looks easy. And you know, you think back to previous champions, Cambobier, we used to always say simple, easy, those are the words we use. Josh Hayes, even when he rode this R1, it was a lot of the same. Body positions are a lot alike. You look at him, you look at Hayes, you look at Cambobier, they don't do anything that looks too extravagant, but they're able to get the times put down on the track. They're able to get the power down the way they do. 2 quick short shifts to third, and it's just pretty simple for him.
Yeah, he makes it look so easy, and it's so incredibly fast. And you can see, here's a look at the race pace. And Jay, it's exactly what we see from Gagne. It's those first couple laps where he challenges the rest of the field and says, hey, can you go this fast and stick with me? And once he kind of breaks them, he settles into this good rhythm. And now it looks like he's out there just having fun. But you go 31-1 on lap 9, and he just went 31-2. It's the consistency in these low 31s that he's just clicking off under no pressure. And really, the other thing too is that when you have these laps at this pace, the amount of information you take back to the trailer and talk about it just means things are getting better tomorrow. Yeah. And also, the other thing too is, Jay, when you have a lead like this, right now 5.7, we don't know what he's going to do in the last couple of laps and how big the margin of victory can be if he finishes these next 3.5 laps. But it also gives you an opportunity in morning warm-up, because you know you have a bike that can win, to start throwing something else at it and trying something that's maybe out of the wheelhouse, because Petrucci, Cam Peterson, Skoltz, Hayden Gillum, they keep needing to refine their motorcycles to continue to close the gap, where Gagne and his fresh and lean progressive Yamaha team can do whatever they want. Battle for 5th place between the 69 of Hayden Gillum and the 66 of PJ Jacobsen. So we have
love seeing this.
This is great. So yeah, it's a Suzuki hybrid, I guess, kind of a superbike.
Disrupt Racing. Major footprint in our paddock now. Big semi. These guys have done a really nice job. And I love the fact that Hayden Gillum is back. I mean, he's back for a full year. He's riding the GSX-R 1000. He's obviously a top contender in our Stock 1000 series. But they've also been kind of chipping away at building this superbike. And the lap time he did this morning of a 31.5 is very fast. And Greg, I don't think he's been here before. I don't remember him being here last year. And so for Hayden, it's a new track. Team's done a really good job at getting him up to speed. And wow, he's battling for top 5. Hannah?
Jay, he is, and that was exactly his goal this weekend. He was hoping to make a big step and trying to break into the top 5 more consistently for the remainder of the season. But you're absolutely right. This is his first time at the track. Yesterday were his first laps. He got about 30 laps in yesterday to try and find his way around, and hopefully he'll be able to find his way around Hayden Gillum here before the end of the race.
Yeah, it's great. And when you have a rider like Hayden, he just keeps getting better each year. Now, I know he had an accident yesterday, Greg, so they had to do some work overnight. I can't remember if it was the stock 1000 or if it was this motorcycle. I think it was a stock 1000 bike. But to see him lay down the number that he put down today and then battle for 5th, and good to see PJ Jacobson back also. You know, these Tytler's BMW team, this new bike, this BMW M1000, is a bike that every track they go to, they're just trying to collect as much data as they can because they're getting better every weekend. And you know, this weekend, unfortunately, we saw Hector already pull out of the race, but PJ Jacobson bringing the fight to Gillum. Gillum actually was behind PJ earlier, so we'll see if PJ is able to reverse this role here with, what, 2.5 laps to go for these two.
Yeah, and that Disrupt Racing GSX-R 1000, you can see it's got a nice beefy swing arm that's connecting that rear wheel to the motorcycle, part of what's available in the Superbike package. But PJ Jacobson, boy, I mean, the work that the Tytler Cycle Racing team has done has been awesome. Oh, and it looks like Petrucci off the track. So Danilo Petrucci in second spot. He runs off the track. We can't see where Cameron Peterson is, but there's only 2 laps to go.
Yeah, he's up front. He's gone. That's Danilo's been getting into that turn all weekend very, very hard, and he gets into turn 12. Just it's 2 turns from the finish there, and Cam Peterson had started to close that gap back down. Cam Peterson, Greg, 31.2 on that lap. Wow. 31.4 for Gagne, but now Cam Peterson's probably going to be at least 4 seconds up the road. That bike's backing in. Petrucci realizes that's a spot that Peterson is going to be able to try to make a move, and maybe he saw that time coming down on his pit board and was just trying to protect a little bit. He gets out there in the grass, does the number 9, and that's probably going to be end up where he finishes there in 3rd spot, because you can see Peterson was some, what was he, Greg? Almost, yeah, full 4 seconds quicker that lap.
So an uncharacteristic mistake from Danilo Petrucci. Not 100% fit after a crash earlier today. Relegates the position to Cameron Peterson. So now the fresh and lean progressive Yamaha duo of Gagne and Peterson looking 1-2 on the podium as Gagne continues to have it his way. 5.7 seconds. He's kind of kept it right around this gap, Jason. Fastest lap, as you can see, a 1:30.5 on lap 2. Last time by a 1:31.4. So only 1 second variation from Jake Gagne in his domination of Medallia Superbike race number 1.
Wow, really the last however many rounds, Greg, double at Ridge, double at Laguna, comes here, putting it to the guys again. I think, you know, I'm pretty impressed again, though, with Cam Peterson. I mean, say what you want, he's 5.5 seconds back, but it was really those first 3 laps. He lost 3.5 seconds on those first few laps. Cam Peterson has kept his head down and in a position where he didn't have any reason to be really confident at the beginning of that race. He's done a nice job of rebounding here. He's still running very competitive times. Look at this last one, Greg, 31.1 for Cam. So 30.7 being his quickest. He was only 0.4 off of what he'd done before. And this guy here, 32.4 the last time by. Petrucci a little bit dinged up, obviously, from a mistake this morning in qualifying number 2. But he's going to come back with a 3rd place finish.
That mistake costed him 4 points in the championship. As we're on our final lap, as Jake Gagne is working his way toward the checkered flag. His 25th win in MotoAmerica Medallia Superbike looms for Jake Gagne. Climbing up the board in all-time wins. He's having a little fun now. Front wheel getting launched in the air for the resident of Colorado as he works his way into some lap traffic. How about the fresh and lean progressive Yamaha racing rider, Jake Gagne? He's got 4 in the bank, and he's going for his 5th in a row. Onto the front straightaway he comes, checkered flag flies, and Gagne with his 25th career Medallia Superbike victory. Cameron Peterson, his teammate, in 2nd spot. And here comes Danilo Petrucci, battered and bruised, and he'll take it home in 3rd to stand on the podium. And another one. How about a tip of the cap to Matthew Skoltz? With that wrist injury just a couple hours ago, brings it home in 4th place. and teammates who get along so well. Their motorcycle setup so similar. The data flows back and forth between these two teams. They maximize their effort to put on performances like this for the fresh and lean progressive Yamaha team and stand 1-2. Hey, there's a look at your podium. And when we come back from commercial break, we'll get to talk to the #1 plate and find out how his race went from start to finish.
Roger, I'm willing to bet his answer to that question will be pretty darn well.
Yeah, what a great ride.
run.
You know, just kind of his very first lap of the race, he breaks the all-time race record by a 10th, and just kind of stayed there the whole race. You know, he kind of sound like a broken record. It's kind of been the same thing every weekend, but he's just, those first couple laps, he's just so solid. And, you know, the other guys, once they need to figure that out to try to get up to speed a little bit quicker. If you look at their best laps, you know, Cameron Peterson's best laps, only 2/10 slower than Jake Gagne's, but Jake just seems to be able to get there sooner and then kind of stay around that time the whole race.
Well, in a way, it's almost as if Jake just dares him. Come with me. Come on.
Yeah.
If one of you can come with me, let's have a race. And in the end, it's just difficult for them to do it.
And he just gets up to speed and gets a good start, too, which even makes it harder. You know, it's almost like they need to try to get a better start and see if they can make a, you know, a shot, so take a shot somewhere to not let him get in that rhythm right away and make him, you know, make some passes early on. But he gets in that rhythm right away from the start, and, you know, the race is over pretty quick.
Well, and let's go back real quick to Laguna. Remember when he qualified third and was on the inside but back and still led into turn one. I mean, the guy, he's just the complete package right now.
He really is. He's riding great, and it's you know, it's really cool to see too, because there was a couple years there where he struggled a lot and, you know, rode some bikes that wasn't as competitive as all the others, and he never complained and just did his work. Didn't get very good results and hung with it, so it's great to see Jake getting the success. But you know, I think we've all kind of been waiting for that Superbike race that goes down to the last lap.
Yeah, it's all come good for him, that's for sure. He's paid his dues and learned his lessons and applies them incredibly well. But you know, it'd be so fascinating to see somebody be able to just stay with him in the early going and be able to get after him here. And it didn't help, of course, that Danilo was racing hurt. Certainly Matt Scholt racing hurt as well. So that creates, you know, the own issues. And it was just weird for Cameron that was it the first couple of laps where he just was not comfortable.
Just couldn't get going. It just looked like, you know, almost like he had a problem. Like just the tire just didn't get up to temperature quick enough for him. So that was just kind of weird. But then once he did get going, I mean, he closed that gap to Danilo pretty quick. So, you know, all the other guys are kind of making some mistakes here and there where it's practice or qualifying, and Jake is just so steady and doesn't make any mistakes, and the whole weekend just runs pretty smooth for him.
Yeah, Danilo right there just looks absolutely knackered, and you know, injury will do that to you when you're trying to fight through something, and it just takes a toll, and with his hand and his knee. And then he's going to be beating himself up, you know, a lot with that mistake down in 12.
Yeah, he's going to be disappointed with that. And, you know, also this track is pretty physical. There's not a lot of long straightaways. You think about that really tight chicane for somebody coming in here, him riding injured like that. It's not going to be able to, there's no place to really, a little bit on the front straightaway to take a break.
Yeah, not much room to grab any kind of a breather here as Cam Peterson. 1-2 for he and his teammate Jake Gagne here at Brainerd.
Back here at Brainerd International Raceway after a dominating victory by Jake Gagne, as he continues to really show the entire world how you win races. get out there to the front, get done early. 5.3 seconds of margin of victory. And the Yamaha 1-2 with Petrucci in third. Let's get right down to Hannah, who has our race winner, Jake Gagne.
Greg, Jake Gagne did the double here last year, and he's already halfway there for this weekend with today's victory. Another good points haul toward the championship. Obviously, a little bit different victories. We've seen the bike evolve. How have you as a rider evolved as well?
I've learned so much from this team and this bike over these years. You know, I feel like I'm finally one of the veterans in the class in a way. You know, I still feel young, but yeah, thank you to this fresh and lean Progressive Attack Performance Yamaha. All the guys are working their butts off. Congrats to Cam. I know those guys had a good battle back there, and thanks to all the fans for coming out. You know, my prayers and blessings to Scott's family. It's been a rough weekend for the whole MotoAmerica family. We've had some weird stuff go down, and yeah, just I'm glad we're here. I'm thankful we're racing motorcycles and having fun, and we'll roll on again Sunday tomorrow.
Congrats, Jake. Thanks.
Interesting. Jake Gagne now feeling like he's one of the veterans of the class, JP, and you know what? It kind of is, isn't he?
Yeah, you win as many races as he does. He knows that people are coming after you. And let's get back down to Hannah with one of those guys that's chasing Jake.
Second place today goes to Jake Gagne's teammate Cameron Peterson. Cam, it looked like you were struggling a little bit in those opening laps. What was going on there, and how were you able to rebound from that for a strong finish?
Yeah, it was kind of weird. I just had a couple moments in those first couple laps, mainly on corner entry, so I just kind of backed it down a little bit, got into my rhythm. I know, especially this weekend, it seems like it takes a couple laps for the tires to come in. So yeah, it just calmed down a little bit, and then it started coming back to me. And yeah, I knew I wasn't good enough on the brakes to do anything with Danilo. I was pretty good going into turn one, so I think that might have been my only opportunity, and I just tried to stay as close to him as much as possible. And yeah, was fortunate enough to walk away second. So once again, massive thank you to the whole Fresh and Lean Progressive Attack Yamaha team. These guys kill it every single weekend. Thanks to everybody for coming out, all the fans. I mean, it's a great turnout here, and like Jake says, prayers with Scott's family, and rough weekend. So yeah, I look forward to tomorrow.
Thanks, Cam. Guys.
Greg, this is an evening where I'm sure Cam won't just be debriefing with his team. He's going to go to Dunlop, and he'll talk to some of the technicians there and say, hey, what can I do maybe a little bit different? Is there something I did wrong? Obviously, there's nothing he's doing wrong. He's riding amazing. But to have that little bit of problem and give up that much time early in the race hurts him a lot. So let's get back down to Hannah with third place.
Third place today goes to Danilo Petrucci. Danilo, you were trying to open up the gap from Cam Peterson, made a little bit of mistake. What was the factors that contributed to that?
Since the first lap, I had some issue with the rear end of the bike. I almost crashed every corner the first 3 laps. Felt like I got no traction control. The tire was really, really cold. Then I started to do my pace, but was really, really hard. I was doing the best lap till the end of the race. Then I did a mistake here. I hit neutral, and I go wide out of the track. Cannot be happy. Today was really, really tough. A big crash this morning. Then, jump on the bike with no warm up, nothing. Was tough. We will try tomorrow. We need to see what's wrong today.
Thanks, Danilo.
All right, so looking for better things tomorrow. As for this 28-year-old who's less than a month away from 29, the veteran, we're going to hear more about this race when we return.
And to me, Roger, that sort of begs the question. For Cam, obviously, it was a second-place finish, and he still has that little bit of work to do to be able to run with his teammate. But for Danilo, he's hurting. He's not there pace-wise quite yet. And what's the mindset at this stage? With an evening, he's going to ice the injuries down, but to try and figure out what he can do for tomorrow.
I think the biggest thing is just figure out what the issue was beginning of the race with the rear end. He was talking about having a problem early in the race. I think that's number one. Figuring out whatever that was, because we've seen Danilo even yesterday and today been pretty close to Jake in practice and qualifying until he had that crash this morning. So this is a place where he's got the speed. He's came here and he's tested before, so they've showed up with a little more in the game, a little bit closer to the settings, because he actually rode his race bike here. about a month or so back at the test. So I think he comes in here with a lot of confidence, and then to get beat the way he did is probably, you know, dings the confidence. But number one, you got to figure out what happened. Why did we lose so much early in the race with the, you know, the rear end? Was there a problem? Was there a sensor not picking up the traction control, or whatever it was, and then try to get that sorted for tomorrow. But he's still in it, you know, for the championship. You just can't never give up. You never know what can happen, and try to come out tomorrow. Tomorrow's a new day.
Yeah, you're right. It looks less and less likely, obviously, that we're going to see Gagne like he did was at Road Atlanta when he had the wreck and didn't get any points and everything, that he's going to make that kind of a mistake. But things happen. Mechanicals happen. You just have to keep fighting. Let's not forget a very gutsy ride by Matt Scholz to still put it up into the top 5. You know that he's hurting. And then a fabulous battle between P.J. Jacobson and Hayden Gillum that went P.J.'s way to end up in the top 5. But Hayden Gillum is serving notice that when he gets on a full-on Supersport bike, he's going to be a player in this championship as well.
Medallia Superbike coverage is sponsored by Medallia, the pioneer in customer and employee experience. By Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series. And by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car or motorcycle insurance.
Our post-race coverage of Medallia Superbike race number 1 for MotoAmerica continues as Tom Halverson already on the box. So he's joined by Jake Gagne as they get to hoist the winning trophies up in the air. And looking at Petrucci, just take a look at the highlights. Race number 1. It was a good start from our pole sitter.
Yeah, it really was. Gagne got his head down, and you can see Cam Peterson does a nice job as well as Scholz. And all the guys got up front that we needed to see up front. Petrucci made a nice move to get through. But Cam Peterson, I mean, this is the amazing part. Scholz at one point had gotten through and got past Cam Peterson because those first couple laps were a bit of a struggle. He was able to get back by Scholz. Scholz made a small mistake. He closed that gap right down to Petrucci. And to Cam's credit, he said, I just didn't know where I was going to be able to pass him. He was so deep into turn 3 was Petrucci. It would have been hard to make a pass. Thought he had a shot there in turn 1, but it was a false neutral with about 3 laps to go, Greg, that allowed Cam Peterson, who had closed that gap back down on Petrucci, to make the pass for second. But this guy, again, you know, broken record stuff, but gets out front early, puts his head down, puts a lot of pressure on these guys, doesn't he, to get up to speed with him. And if you can't go with him, it's a lot harder to close that gap down as the race progresses because he's just too consistent.
Keep in mind, Jake Gagne didn't start winning MotoAmerica Medallia Superbike races till last season. He already has 25. We'll be back with more in a moment.
My name is Nadeed Farhan. I'm the EVP of Sales and Marketing for Boss Audio Systems. We are an audio company and video company now for all your vehicle products. So if you have a car, we can install our products in your car. If you have a boat, we'll install our products in your boat. And if you have a motorcycle or power sports products like a side-by-side or ATV, we're there for you as well. So we joined MotoAmerica because we really see how big the turnout is becoming, and for our power sports side of category, we're very, very interested in getting involved with the consumer, getting involved with the enthusiasts, the riders, to showcase them that we're here to support them, we're here to support the organization, and with the success of King of Baggers, we really think that that's also something that could be very, very helpful for us, but also to showcase to the enthusiasts that we're here.
Well, race 1 for the Medallia Superbike's in the books here, and you know, one of the things you look at the scoring here. Obviously, P.J. Jacobson in 5th, 15 seconds off of the lead and the win by Gagne, but 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. That is a small margin covering those 6 bikes.
Yeah, really close. That battle all the way from 5th to 10th is pretty close. And I mean, for Hayden Gillum, has had a crash yesterday. The team had a lot of work to do to come out here and, you know, definitely not a full Superbike, and to come out here and run 5th for most of the race, end up 6th is pretty impressive. And you know, he's running for that Stock 1000 championship, but I think he's kind of set out last year, and I think he's kind of showing everybody that he still has it.
I think without question he's doing that. And I thought nice run too by Ashton Yates and Corey Alexander there in 7th and 8th on the two BMWs, the 22 and 23. Jake Lewis and David Anthony completing that top 10. But I'm really intrigued to see what's going to unfold when we get back. We've got a warm-up obviously tomorrow morning where they can check out changes they've made and the like, and the guys who are still a little bit wounded here, able to see just what are we going to be able to do in terms of being able to get out there and race competitively here. So that's where it's going to be interesting to see what unfolds when we come back for race 2 tomorrow. But we're not done quite yet with talking about race 1.
Oh, it certainly is pretty up Brainerd way. No question about it. Perfect time of year to come to Minnesota and enjoy the beautiful countryside up here. There's a lot of lakes. I think it even says it on the license plate as far as I know. It's really hard to say, but we're here doing Medallia Superbike. Race number 1 is over. So here's a look at the championship on how it pans out. It was 3, now it's 12, Jason. Campy still, 45. That's his race number. Look at that. Something good's going to happen. As for Skoltz, he soldiers on with an injury, 57 back, and you can see Barbara, poor Richie Escalante not here, PJ Jacobson, Jake Lewis back in action. So it's been one of those years as we normally see here. It's oftentimes, Jason, about managing the entire season. Yeah. It's not that it's a long season, but 20 races is quite a bit. And especially when you have someone like Jake Gagne who's pushing this entire field to go faster and faster, some of these riders have to take risks, and they want to do it in qualifying, and sometimes it can bite you.
Yeah, but that said, I think a lot of people thought that when Danilo Petrucci came over from MotoGP that he was just going to mop up over here, and Gagne really had to come from behind. All that adversity at the beginning of the year that we'd not seen that team go through and that rider go through. But they just kept chipping away. They knew what they had. He knows the bike. He knows the team that he has underneath him. And for Gagne, that just gives you so much confidence. And chip away he has. And now he's on, what, a 7-race winning streak or something in that area. And you sit there and you look at it and you think he's comfortable. He's right back where he feels like he should be. He's winning races the way he knows how. And it's a puzzle that nobody else has been able to solve just yet. So he's just going to continue to get strong, and he loves all the venues that are coming up, so it's made it a lot harder for these guys.
The talent of Jake Gagne is undeniable. He just needed to get into an environment that's going to foster that talent and work with them, be patient with them, and now we're seeing the fruits of those labors, Jason. Yep. And you know what? There's a lot of people that would love to see him go to MotoGP or World Superbike where he's been before. So the future for Jake Gagne, it's a question mark. We know he's here, and we know that Jake Gagne is winning races, but the question is, can he get it done one more time tomorrow? We're going to find out as we're going to have race number 2 of Medallia Superbike right here from Brainerd International Raceway. For Hannah Lopa and Jason Pridmore, I'm Greg White. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time for Medallia Superbike, race number 2.